This is a Power 98.7 podcast. Now we're talking. Subscribe to Power 98.7 podcasts in iTunes or wherever you get your podcasts. There's more on power987.co.za.
We were in studio with a founding member of iPhupho, L'ka Biko, and Pan-Afrikanist band. I want to start there with the name. Tell me what inspired the band's name.
Two figures. One is the one that prompted is the late great jazz pianist Moses Muleleko.
Yeah.
And then the other is Steve Biko. Steve Biko's writings on I Write What I Like. So iPhupho, L'ka Biko, Ibiko refers to God as the giver and the fulfiller of dreams, and Biko refers to all revolutionaries who have sacrificed their lives, for the liberation or the emancipation of black people on the global diaspora. And then, so we have three themes. It's spirituality, it's black love consciousness, and it's also drawing from the jazz tradition. That's iPhupho, L'ka Biko.
And how did the band come about?
I formed the band back in 2015. I was studying music, doing my music degree at Wits. So as a music student, usually have class practicals, ensembles, and I guess from then on, and also listening a lot to consuming a lot of jazz at that time. So it's a normal thing for as a machita to slang and play, And as soon as I started writing, that's when I invited those who were around me, those I had a connection with,
And I mean, so I'm saying based on the name, and that's your explanation, it sounds like you were very specific in terms of creating this band and the direction that you wanted to take it musically. Tell me about that thought process of a Pan-Afrikanist band, as it were.
Yeah, it's mainly because wherever you go in this world, you'll always be reminded that you're black, in school, in town, at home, so that consciousness develops to say, no, man, we are not all the same, and we do not all come from the same backgrounds. But also, remember in 2015 was also the Fees Must Fall moment. And so it served as a catalytic, to say, this is something that we really have to fight for. And now, even worse, we have to ask our government to provide free education, which is something that should have been done already for a country that started the democratic process in 94. But even to this day, fees have not fallen. We're still struggling with sanitation and all of that. So I guess, hence the intentionality for it. Yeah.
So beyond making the music, would I be right to say that you are more about Africanist spiritual awakening and black consciousness, as it were, a la Biko? Definitely.
Part of what colonization did to us as black people was to eradicate our indigenous ways of living, our ways of connecting with the superior being. Our ancestors were demonized, and that's basically was part of the mission and the agenda of the missionaries, And so through this music, we are creating that, we create a platform. It is an attempt, and we offer ourselves as vessels to say, let there be a reconciliation with who we are, our ancestors, and our God.
Yeah. So how easy was it to find people who are in the same wavelength? Musically, but also consciously?
We just happened, I wouldn't say it was all planned. We just happened to be in the same spaces. And my theory is that before we even play the music, let us connect first. Let us have conversation. Let's break bread. Let's drink from the same cup, Because if I just wanted good musicians, I'm exposed to a lot of great musicians. Not to say my band members are not great, they are too great. But then it's not hard to find musicians that can play. It's quite hard to find people who will see what you see, the vision. And And so I can say it was all by God's grace for me to meet everyone that I'm with now in the band, because it's all been an organic process. Some of them I've been with them in church where I started playing. Some of them I was with them in Fismas Fall, and others we were in the same art school. And so all these three different groups just happened to create what we call now iPhupho Biko.
You know, then looking into your music and the consciousness, how is it being received? And the reason I'm asking this is that this kind of consciousness, the Pan-Afrikanist, it's not everybody's cup of tea, right? Yeah. And then you do jazz, right? Yeah. Which is not everybody's cup of tea. Yeah. So here you are with two different cups of tea that are not generally. How do you find the balance, and how has it been received? Or is that the idea behind it, to have that niche market, to say, beyond this, then we will allow us to teach you and conscientize you, as it were?
It's been greatly received, I can say, because firstly, we are honest in our approach to music. So now when we speak of jazz, we do not only refer to jazz as the tradition of Miles Davis and John Coltrane, but then we trace jazz back to Africa, where it was incepted through traditional songs that evolved to socio-spirituals, evolved to blues, the ragtime era, big band era, the bebop era, to cool time, Yabo Miles Davis later on, you know. So we have all those references, and also we are not divorced from the likes of our own, or Zimngawana, the late Mambusi Mhlongo, Stimela, even Maskandi artists like Begumuzi Lutuli, you know. So like we have even the church background, the reference to the colonial music as well is also there. So I guess since we have all of that concoction, people can relate to that. And also jazz music has always been a music of young people, you know. And I guess
contrary to popular belief.
Exactly. Yeah. And now we are fighting, not fighting against these are one of the challenges that mainstream or mass media, you know, plays what is deemed as commercial music. And so if people every day they hear amapiano or they hear Afropop, there's no way that they will be hungry for it. But for those that have been exposed to our music, they are more hungry for it. So if PowerFM was to play L'ka Biko every day, at least one song once a day for a month, we can fill up a stadium, because that's what people are hungry for. There is a need for it. And the common theme after our shows, they always say, wow, that was healing. That was reviving. They really want to go out there and bring about social change.
Do you feel that on the point that you just made, that there's not enough in terms of airplay and support from...
Yeah, because our music does not serve capitalism. Our music is there to uproot the system that oppresses black people. And so anything that will awaken black people, that will spiritualize black people, capitalism does not want. They just want us to be lull and just drink ourselves to misery and to our own destruction and be huge illogical consumers. That serves capitalism. So we are not surprised by that as a band that is very intentional with our music and our politics.
As musicians, do you find that not... in lack of a better phrasing, frustrating, because at the end, music has to serve another purpose. Yes, beyond serving the music, you gotta make money out of this thing. It's bad, right?
Definitely.
Yes, to put together music, you need to spend money. You to put together a show, you need to spend money. Definitely. So it's gotta bring back something. You gotta get something out of it.
Definitely. Hence the land question. Yeah. You know, if we can, that's the fight. It's for us to get our land back and for us to have our revolutionary reforms, and that will put us in a state whereby we don't need the music to make us wealthy or rich or comfortable, you know, but then just our basic conditions, you know, should be humane. And also, but we do have other avenues. We are not only focusing on music as a form of income, and also most importantly, the music is for healing. This music heals us, and this music heals everyone who engages it, you know. And so that puts us in a good space, and the music takes care of us one way or the other. It does take care of us, even outside of these exclusive platforms. Yes, it does. Yeah.
So beyond the passion, yes, there is some some give back of sorts.
Yeah.
So Lipo, thank you so much for inviting the group. I think your album's Azania, the EP.
The EP Azania.
Yeah, it's a big band, and already it's felt in the music industry. They met in Braamfontein. And how did bassist Nhlanhla make the group survive the pandemic and eventually record the album? And he says, this EP I really don't mind having.
I guess the greatest pandemic, it's poverty, and it stems from landlessness, dispossession. And so for us, it has never been about surviving COVID, because we always knew that we are in a biological warfare. And it was also shown and proven, in terms of how the government has never encouraged people to take certain fruits and veggies and herbs, in order to boost their own immune systems. And even now, we are only encouraged to consume what is not good for our own health. So that moment wasn't really surprising, but it shows the importance and the urgency for us to have like a repossession. So I guess for us, that time was just used to encourage ourselves, and actually we post the first easing of these regulations. That's when we went to record our first single, Abaphezulu and Uthixo Khona.
That was in 2021.
Yeah, 2021.
Yeah. Right in the heart of
2020. Actually, it was 2020, and then I think it was released 2021. Yeah.
And then Azania is the most recent one.
Yeah, Azania is the most recent one. It was recorded last year. Repechapechile, man. And then and it's quite a solid project for a project that we had to ask people for studio time, negotiate with friends of mine who are mixing and mastering engineers. But then, because it is tough. I hear you when you say Guti, but money is needed. Money is needed. But then now, what's the point of having money when the message is not live, when the message can't outlive us as a generation, when that message when the music won't benefit our own descendants? One thing that we can take pride, even of this EP, is that it will definitely outlive us. 20 years later, 50 years later, it will still be relevant.
You said when I asked about what is the idea, how did you start the band, you said you were studying music.
Yeah.
Why were you studying music? Have you always wanted? Is it something that personally you've always wanted to do?
I've always been passionate. My journey started at home. My grandmother with the church on Saturdays would go to the temple. My uncle, vinyl collector. My aunt was in a performing arts center, Kokagiso, in the West Rand. And my mother was in a church choir. Then later on, a couple of years later, started playing music within the church. And then I went to Soweto there's a college in Dobsonville, a Manu. That's where I got that foundation, which could now enable me to further my studies at Wits University, where I did the BMaster on music.
So Shem, you had no chance.
Yeah. The passion has been there. I couldn't, by the time I reached grade 11, I was fed up of your biologies, geographies. I was like, no, this is not for me.
I'm not about to dissect a frog and a locust on a dissect music. We're hanging out with Nhlanhla, who is a founding member of iPhupho, L'ka Biko. Yeah, no. So a long time ago, there's a great drummer, Azar.
I know Azar.
You know Azar.
Azar from Utswapitori.
Yeah, Utswapitori. Yeah, brilliant musician. So I was interviewing Azar, and then so I asked him about the music, and openly, and he says, "Yo, but how about use?" So I'm listening to this song, and I'm like, I can feel the the energy,
Yeah.
the as I was saying off air, like the Philip Tabani kind of vibe,
Definitely.
Malopo, as we
Definitely.
call it.
Yeah.
So I mean, just tell me about that. How the fusion of being able to touch into the spirituality of it. The religion of it, as you've just explained, but also the jazzy, you can feel the Daiwa Mlelekwa kind of vibe, or tell me just about how you fuse that. I mean, it's beautiful. It's a beautiful fusion of sounds.
Yeah, I would say like sincelebeleni yabo, because as we had no choice. Probably if we are born in Libya, most likely gonna be Muslim, in Algeria, and by virtue of being born here in South Africa and being colonized by the Europeans, we became Christians, followed in their own way in which they managed to manipulate Christianity. And so those triads, those harmonies that you generally find in gospel music, you'll then find it. Those elements of ZCC music, Zion, you'll find it in our music. And also as activists and follists who always sing amagwijo, hence you'll find this. That's where. And also I come from a family of healers, or khatebe, so there's also that gift of healing that I also bring, and other members, they bring their different gifts into the music, so I would say it comes from back.
But I mean, to go to the example that Azza was I was giving of Azza, saying that it must be something else with that healing sound when the music takes over. It must be something else. And I mean, we've seen it with many a musician.
It is definitely healing us, and also healing. But I think interestingly, we want to heal, but it's also healing us. But then conceptually now, the stance that we're also taking is to use Ubiko, the ideology, not only to resist, but also to heal the mind, because we believe that the oppressed are really scarred. And there's a serious healing that needs to take place.
Are we listening though? Like beyond the music, Nhlanhla, are we as Africans listening? Are we hearing this consciousness, this message of Azania?
I think we are, because Azania actually, it is that invitation, to say let's journey. Let's go to this country. Let's leave South Africa. Let's go to Azania, whereby we can self-sustain, whereby there won't be any GPV, whereby people won't be prejudiced, for their gender or even sexuality. That's what we are inviting people, whereby everyone will be human, So if white people want to be part of that land, they're not coming there as racist and coming with that superior complex. They should know that we are equal. That's what Azania is about, And I realize that in most cases, when we go out for these interviews, we often ask people, may you please follow us on Facebook, YouTube, whatever. But then I realized that it made me think just right now that without radio, there's no music, Without the musicians also, I mean, radio needs music to function, which essentially feeds capitalism, right? And the music needs the musicians, and hence you are always playing the music. So if the listeners right now, every one of them could dedicate themselves to say once a week, I'll ask these radio stations to play iPhupho L'ka Biko, they'll be contributing towards social change just by calling, just by requesting. Because radio always responds to what the ground wants. My piano were rejected until people,
started
forced these platforms.
Until it started playing everywhere else. On radio.
Yeah.
So radio had to come.
It just takes one call, takes one request, and that's your contribution to society. It's not necessarily about money to say, give us R1 million to record the album. No, just request the music. You'll be playing a serious role in the community.
Don't you feel though, or rather maybe to rephrase, do you think that there is space for consciousness, politics in music, or does that not muddy the waters, especially looking at the political landscape of South Africa?
It's definitely that's the scene now, and our convictions are that we are shifting towards that as a country, because the spirits are dry, the spirits are impoverished. Hence, even in Mapiano music and hip hop, people are moving towards that spirituality because there is a hunger. So a lot, especially even in jazz, a lot of musicians now in jazz are tapping into politics of race, of gender, of class, you know. And so, yeah, I think that space, it is conducive for that. So, and we are happy that it's happening, whether it's false prophets or not. We are happy that the gospel of consciousness is being preached.
But also, music has always played that role. I mean, for as long as you can go, the Huma Sekelars of this world, the Miriam Makebas, the Toshes, if you want, the fellas have always done that with music. I mean, you can even go extreme and talk about the era of rap in America, NWA and all of them. There's always been some sort of
definitely.
Yes,
so
exactly.
And it's really powerful now that we're mentioning Ufela Kuti. Look at how high life music, you know, gave birth to Afrobeat, which is a global genre now. So we can also foresee this music that we are doing now, how it can become a global genre, you know. So there's definitely hope.
No, absolutely. Obviously, looking at this as a band, you guys do a lot of live performances. Where do you perform?
Just tomorrow we are at the Forge in Braamfontein. It's a free gig. I'm not sure if there's still space, but then it's on 7 Reserve Street in Braamfontein. The theme of the event is titled Political Revival. It's a whole range of activities. In the morning, there's Makafula Vilagazi. I don't know if you know him. And there are other poets. There's also Yonela Mnana performing as part of that. But then on the 28th, we have a big one in Tembisa. I think that's currently the biggest festival in South Africa. The Tembisa Jazz Festival goes to Chile. It's a big lineup. Black Mambazo will be there.
Wow.
Mandy Sityankis will be there. Vutsma Hlasela, Slayelo Slaughter. Makatsi.
Yeah.
So it's quite a huge lineup. It would be great, you know, for people to come through Kotembisa on the 28th. Yeah, on the same day, earlier on, we'll be at Javet Go UP alongside Matala Kunene. On the 4th, we'll be at State Theatre. And then on the 8th of December, we are at Untitled Basement with Duk Singanga. And then on the 15th of December, it's also a big one for us. We're taking it to Cape Town, the Star Theatre.
Wow.
Yeah, so far that's what we have. But then people can follow us. But more importantly, request.
Call radio stations and request for music. I'm requesting Smooth for music to play something. I have another sign language between us. I'm making the request here. But quickly, where do people follow and find you and your music?
Siyazama sesiyafumaneka na ku TikTok @iPhupho Biko. We are on Instagram @iPhupho Biko, Facebook iPhupho Biko, Twitter as well. You can find us there @iPhupho Biko. We post our visual material on YouTube. Yeah.
All right. Fantastic. Tlanta, thank you so much for coming through. I would love to see you guys play. If Soli Paul says you guys are fantastic on stage, I trust Soli. I must confess, I enjoyed the song that I haven't seen you play.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to being to your next week.
Thank you so much.
Don't be surprised if I pop in tomorrow.
Yeah, that would be nice.
In Braamfontein.
That would be great.
Lovely. Thank you so much, Tlanta, for coming in. Sure.
You've been listening to a Power 98.7 podcast. For more podcasts, visit power987.co.za or subscribe wherever you get your podcasts.